Hello, my wonderful, beautiful friends. Welcome back to r/Pro Revenge, where you'll hear stories about people getting what they deserve, and the revenges are super satisfying. Guys, I hope you're having an awesome day today, and in this episode, you're gonna hear 3 revenge stories. The first and second stories involve really crappy neighbors, and the third, OP gets some sweet revenge on his crappy stepdad. My friends, I do hope you enjoy the stories today, and do hit that subscribe button for future revenge tales. Let's dive in. Throughout the year, I've had really noisy and thoughtless neighbors. They would often have loud parties that would go into the early hours of the morning. They were all in university and international students. This becomes important later on. I had called the police, called the apartment manager, and nobody would do anything about it. I was losing sleep and my work was becoming affected as well. Now, I had spoken to them directly and they completely disregarded me and refused to quiet down. Sometimes they would get even louder as soon as I started to walk back to my place. This went on for months, and I was writing out my lease to move somewhere else. One day, I'm sitting watching TV on a nice spring day, and I have my windows open. I hear one of the neighbor's friends come over, and he asked if he's coming out, and the guy says no, as he needs to study for an important test the next day. That little snippet of info was all I needed. His friend leaves, and he closes the door. I then proceeded to take my speakers and put them up against his walls, near where I knew his desk was, and began to blare Merzbow and death metal straight at the wall. I put my noise-canceling headphones on and just blasted it as loud as possible for hours. My landlord actually ended up coming into the apartment because I didn't hear him knocking, and he's obviously flipping out. My lease was set to be up soon anyway, and I was leaving the state, so I didn't care. The landlord leaves, and I continue blasting music. The neighbor comes over irate, screaming that he has this big test and he's gotta pass it, and I just laugh in his face and said, I don't hear anything. He then makes a fantastic mistake, which was telling me that he didn't just have a test tomorrow, but it was finals week. He told me I needed to keep it down for the whole week, which was not gonna happen. I set my alarm to go off every 30 minutes, and I would bang on the walls with a hammer and blast music. And I'll admit, I was going a bit crazy as well, but that didn't matter because I was messing with the guy. So, around day 3 of no sleep for anybody, he comes over screaming about how in India, his family will disown him if he doesn't pass his exams. This just made me laugh, and I said the same thing over and over again. I didn't hear the music, that I think it was coming from somewhere else. I basically just started to gaslight him, acting really nice when he came over in a rage. So that weekend, the landlord gave me a notice that I had to leave, which I was fine with. And because he broke my lease and I wanted to get out anyway, I got my deposit back. On the last morning I was there, I knocked on the neighbor's door at like 8 a.m. and asked him if he wanted an old air conditioner that I was gonna throw out. He was totally in a daze, and I don't know if he really understood what was happening any longer. Anyway, hopefully I messed up his test scores and his future a little bit. He should have shut up when I told him numerous times. My friends, this is some good pro-revenge with some potential nuclear fallout. Imagine if OP was the reason that the guy failed his exams and was disowned by his parents. Guys, so I had no idea what Merzbow was before reading the story, but upon googling it and listening to a few seconds, OP definitely chose the right type of music to have going. I could not listen to it for more than a few seconds, and the poor neighbor had to put up with it for 3 days. Oh my goodness. I should start off by saying that I don't live in the best area of town. It wasn't absolutely awful until the summer began, when my next door neighbor's teenage kids and their friends had nothing better to do than to loiter around all day and be loud and commit petty crimes. The people below my next door neighbors had a rock thrown through their window, and several neighbors had minor car damage, like dents from them sitting on cars or just scraping them up with whatever they could find. The kids would bang on people's doors for the fun of it, and often sit in a large group, clogging up the only stairs to my apartment, and be really rude when I would try to step over or around them. I should also add that 2 or 3 families were next door in a 2-bedroom unit, literally at least 12 to 15 people, way over capacity. They also had friends over constantly and would yell and scream and fight with each other all the time. Luckily, never too late at night though. Despite all of these nuisances, I never complained about them. Sure, it was obnoxious as hell, but I'm not really a complainer and I'm a pretty easygoing tenant. Unfortunately for my good neighbors and myself, their crimes escalated in severity. They actually broke into my cool downstairs neighbor's place. he caught them red-handed trying to steal his laptop. He called the cops and made a police report and everything, but somehow nothing was done. Anyway, them breaking into his place really freaked me out because my downstairs neighbor is huge and scary looking, while I'm a 22-year-old girl who lives with 2 other girls my age. I thought about getting security cameras for my place after my downstairs neighbors told me what happened, but unfortunately, before I could, that's when it happened. Days later, when I got up in the morning to go to school, my tires were completely flat. They slashed my tires. I was livid. Now, I had never done anything to any of them. My tires are really good quality tires and were brand new. Literally just a few weeks old and a gift from my dad. I barely had the money to replace my tires, and as most of you probably know, car insurance and tire warranties don't cover vandalism to tires. So I had to buy the replacement in full. I was so enraged at this point. These idiots have been committing crimes, destroying property, and basically getting away with it despite complaints to management and police reports. I swore to myself that day that I would see it, that these horrible people would get evicted. I didn't care how long it took. I knew it was a matter of time before they did something else that would warrant it. After I filed a police report, I showed my manager the pictures of my clearly slashed tires to file a complaint. He promised that if they got one more complaint of property damage, that they would be out. I also got that security system I wanted. Well, the revenge is not the most glamorous or exciting revenge. I documented everything. Every time they clogged the stairs, every time they were exceptionally loud, and every time they did anything that would count as a violation that I had overlooked in the past. 2 weeks passed and I hardly saw them around, all quiet on the Western Front, until they finally came back, thinking that they had laid low long enough and that the heat was off of them. Since the tire slashing incident, I've been parking at the building across the parking lot, instead of right in front of my own building because that's where they always hang out. On Sunday, I caught one of the guys sitting on the hood of my car talking to a bunch of others, but they all ran away before I could yell at them to get off my car. Upon further inspection, I noticed that there was actually a large, shallow dent on my hood from them sitting on my car. My roommate's car had a similar dent, and I see them sit on my downstairs neighbors all the time. Well, today, I decided to park right in front of my apartment where I used to park, in full view of my new security system. And lo and behold, I had footage of them sitting and banging on my car. I sent my manager the angriest email I could muster, while still maintaining completely respectful language. With the footage attached, of course. I told him something must be done. I got an email back within minutes thanking me for notifying him and informing me that he would serve them a notice to vacate tomorrow. They will have 30 days. Mess with my car, lose your home. As I type this while sipping my fresh iced tea, I can hear those kids playing basketball, probably hitting more cars in the process, and shouting and laughing. I can't help but smile knowing that they won't be laughing for long. Guys, I don't understand the logic behind the manager in this one. Those kids were caught breaking into downstairs apartments, throwing rocks through windows, slashing OP's tires, denting cars, scratching cars. I'm surprised it took that long to get them evicted. And where the heck were the parents in this? Control your kids, people. You don't have a place to live now because of them. When I was 15 years old, my mom started dating a man she met on a dating website. I didn't like him the first time I met him, and 2 months later, he moved into the house. About 3 weeks after he moved in, he took my skateboards, self-built half-pipe, ramps, BMX bike, ice hockey gear, and many other things to the dump one day while I was at school. He said he did those things because he did not want my crap cluttering up his garage. Maybe 2 months later, he gave me a shot in the stomach because I got up from the dinner table without asking to be excused. From there, it escalated into full-fledged beatdowns for the smallest perceived slight to his authority. One day, he decided to take my extensive Pokemon card collection, and even more extensive comic book collection, along with my Game Boy and my PS2 with all the games, and my fantasy and sci-fi book collection, and got rid of it all because, quote, 15-year-old boys should be playing football and baseball, not being a nerd playing with Pokemon cards and reading comics and books. Now, I would like to add that he was a middle school teacher, and his off time he refereed and umpired the middle school and high school sports games. My mom never intervened, and in fact acquiesced when he demanded that she stop giving me lunch money because, quote, that little idiot will just spend it on comics and other dumb crap. One day, I took maybe $3 and some change out of his change jar so I could buy a slice of pizza and some fruit punch during lunch at school because I was tired of being hungry. My twin sister was always a bit of a jerk and frequently blackmailed me into doing her chores from such a young age. I was fed up and refused to do something, so she told my stepdad what I'd done. That man actually called the police and pressed larceny charges against me, and once the police had left, proceeded to teach me a lesson with his belt. At that point, I ran away. When the cops found me and returned me to my home, I found out that he'd been trying to talk my mom into sending me away to military school. I ran away again, and between having run away several times and the larceny charge, I ended up turning 16 in juvenile detention. I spent the next couple of years miserable and afraid. Once I was out on my own, I didn't speak to my mom for several years. We eventually reconciled, and by that point, they had married. My mother found out that she had stage 4 cancer and no longer wanted to waste any of the time she had left with him, so she had a lawyer draft up a separation agreement, whereby he would receive a set amount of money upon the separation and would have 45 days to retrieve his belongings from the house. My mother passed away about 9 months after their separation, and despite the agreement, had been allowing him to come get his stuff. I put an immediate end to that. He was past the deadline to remove his personal effects, and they were now legally mine to dispose of as I saw fit. I sold his baseball card collection, which got me around $14,000. His autographed sports memorabilia, roughly $11,000. And also sold all of his woodworking equipment, along with several finished pieces of furniture that he'd made. $6,500 I think. I kept his mother's engagement ring, wedding band, and his coin collection, as I also collect coins. Now comes the real fun. Around a month ago, I finally saw him at the grocery store. As I was leaving, I approached him. I told him that I'd sold his collections as he was pushing his cart towards the car. He reacted exactly as I expected. He took a swing at me multiple times. I already had my phone out to dial 911. He continued to try to swing at me as I spoke to the 911 operator and was actively ramming his grocery cart into my new Toyota as the police officers pulled into the parking lot. He was arrested for assault, communicating threats, and destruction of property. As a result, he lost his job and pension at the local middle school, and because he never learned how to save money while married to my wealthy mother, he ended up having to sell his house because he hired an expensive lawyer, thinking that he could somehow beat the charges. My nephew, who was on the football team, made it well known to his friends that he not only had just been arrested and convicted of assault as well as other charges, but that he had also treated me poorly as a kid, causing several parents to call for him to resign from refereeing and umpiring for local sports games. My niece and my girlfriend's much younger sister are enrolled at the middle school where he worked, and say that not only was he universally disliked, but when he came to the school to get his belongings, he made a big scene and ended up hysterically crying as he was leaving. His son refused to take him in or to help him out, so the stepfather ended up having to take a job as a cashier at Walmart, so he could afford the rent on his crappy little trailer in an absolutely awful neighborhood. Even though that Walmart is not the closest Walmart to my house, this is now the only place where I go shopping or to purchase anything I need. I purposely stand in line longer than I need, just so he can be the one who has the pleasure of ringing up my purchases. The first time I went through his line, he attempted to ring up multiple items more than once to overcharge me, and then when I called him on it, he said that I was mistaken. I asked for a manager, and then the manager believed him that it was an accident, but he learned that he can't get away with that. Every time I go there and step in line, I can see him die a little bit inside, and it gives me such satisfaction. Sometimes I'll say that I'm paying with exact change, and just as I'm about to hand him money, I'll say, "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that I don't have any cash. I just have these rare collectible coins in my pocket. I guess I'll use my credit card." I just sold his expensive wrench set, and so, on Monday, when he works again, I'm gonna go buy my daughter one of their above ground pools, and as he's ringing it up, I'll tell him, "I know my daughter's gonna love this pool. It's not like I would have used those expensive ratcheting wrenches anyway." It's funny how life works, right? Karma can sometimes come at you full force, and OP's stepdad deserved everything that he got. The part where OP keeps stopping by Walmart to pay his stepdad a visit is the real cherry on top though. And that, my friends, brings us to another end of r/pro revenge. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the stories today, and if you missed the last episode of r/pro revenge, OP gets back at her evil mother. Check it out if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I love you.